You won't notice it on my skin tone, but I've just come back from holiday in Italy, and don't worry, I'm not just telling you this to give you an update on my personal life, but because I received a treat for this trip. Fujifilm have been so kind and have sent me the X Half to take with me and to test out for you. I usually bring a little analog film camera with me, and there are a range of point and shoot cameras I've been finding in charity shop as a more portable alternative to my Canon R6, and because I love shooting film on travel. But as much as we all love not having to take our liquids and electronics out of our bag at the airport anymore, the new scanners also pose a big issue for film. I've not personally tested it, but it is said that they destroy undeveloped film. Some people have had success with getting them hand-checked at the airport by the security staff, but that's not a guarantee either. And I don't want to risk losing a couple of rolls because of it in this economy, so to make it work, you'd have to get it developed before traveling back home, and who on a holiday actually has the time and the resources to do that? For me, I was on a boat for a whole week, and the only thing luring me to land was the idea of ice cream. But if you've recently traveled with film, let me know your experiences in the comments below. Did it get damaged, or what did you do to prevent the damage? So I decided to look into digital cameras that will give you the same feeling as shooting analog. And I got really lucky because just weeks earlier, Fujifilm released the X Half, and I found exactly what I was looking for. Before we get into my experience with using it, let's just state that this camera is not meant for photographers wanting the highest possible quality, the best specs, etc. This is a camera designed to have fun with, get creative, and give you a semblance of shooting analog without the hassle of actual film. So I won't be going into depth with the specs, apart from the obvious things that you should know, like file format, focal length, and so on. So let's get those out of the way. We've got 17.74 megapixels with a 13.3 by 8.8mm sensor, a fixed lens at 10.8 millimeters at f2.8, which gives us a 32mm equivalent focal length on a full frame sensor. The aspect ratio is also fixed at 3:4. You'll be shooting JPEG only, and you can also record video with full HD, 24 pixels, and 8-bit. I've not shot any videos with it on my trip, so I can't give you a review on that, but let's dive into the fun part now. This camera also has the film simulations that Fujifilm cameras are known for. I've tried to test all of them, and I seem to have only forgotten one, which is the TheFlashCentre. But let me show you some examples of the other ones. All of these images are straight out of camera. I've not edited or cropped anything. My favorite simulations for this trip were clearly Provia, Ostia, and probably Velvia. I felt like they matched the sunny summer vibe I was going for the most. In some of these images, you can also see the date stamp on the bottom right, which you can turn off. The first thing I noticed when I received it is just how small it actually is. It's roughly the size of a deck of cards, but way less bulky than the point and shoot that I usually take with me. It's also super light as well, so it was really easy to take it anywhere with me. When we went on land with the dinghy, which is the small boat that takes you to shore, usually you can't take a lot of stuff with you and you have to put it in a dry bag, which is a waterproof bag, so the tiny size was amazing there. These shots were taken from a hill after we swam to the shore from the boat, which is just tiny white one here, and I had the camera in a waterproof bag, which we just threw into a kayak. We hiked to the top of this mountain to a tiny church. Just look at that view from there. The colours came out absolutely stunning. I first had set it to Real Ace, but I found that Velvia gave me the most accurate saturation of the blues that I was actually seeing in person. What gives this camera even more of an analog feel is the film simulation mode. I didn't actually end up using it, but let me tell you why. The film simulation mode gives you a single film simulation and a fixed ISO to choose from, and then you get 36, 54, or 72 exposures to shoot, and you're stuck with it like with a real roll of film. You won't be able to see them until you either finish the roll or exit the mode. I really love this feature. It gives you the same challenge as with film, and the only reason I didn't use it is because I only had a limited time with this camera and I really wanted to explore all the other filters so I can give you a comparison. This also gave me the opportunity to just play around and figure out the best simulation for the specific shot I was taking. I also enjoyed playing around with the filters. There's expired film where you can choose the color cast, toy camera, double exposure, retro, canvas, vignette, and more. My favorites were halation because it gave me that glowy effect on the water, and I wish I had some cocktails to photograph with this filter. But living in a boat sounds more aesthetic than it is. Our table setting was rudimentary, to say the least. I loved the light leak filter, which generates a new leak for every picture, and I had never been someone to edit in a light leak before, but I ended up really liking the images I took with it, so I guess I'm a fan now. The only thing with this filter is that you really have to double check in the playback to see if it turned out the way you wanted it. So I wouldn't use it if you really have to be quick and don't have time to review. I often ended up taking 2 or 3 of those and then choosing my favorites from them. You can also add some grain to the image to give it the film texture, but I was warned that this effect is quite strong, and I'm glad I listened. This is what it looks like with the grain set to weak. It's definitely not the most ideal for photographing details in the distance, but for portraits and close-up shots, I think it's quite nice. Speaking of close-ups, I got about 10 centimeters away from this flower to get it in focus, just as a reference. The thing that was quite a challenge for me, but it's exactly the same as with any fixed lens camera and my own point and shoot, is the fixed focal length. In daily work, I'm used to my 24 to 70mm lens and the flexibility that comes with that, and especially when traveling, when you often can't really change your position to get that framing you want. A fixed lens is always a lesson, and sometimes you just have to let a shot go. It did end up taking me a couple of minutes to get used to the menu, which is probably more due to the fact that I was too lazy to go back down into the cabin to read the manual, but it is actually pretty straightforward. Although I do feel like the display could be a bit brighter. Since I was mostly shooting in very bright sunlight, it was often hard to see what I'm actually framing, making sure I'm exposing it correctly and then reviewing the image in playback. Sometimes I ended up having to walk into a shadow area, or I just discovered a slightly overexposed image every now and then, until I just shot a little bit darker than I had guessed, which worked out better in the end. The controls are also super simple. Most of it works with the touchscreen, apart from the exposure compensation, which is at the top here, and the f-stop, which you can change with the dial on the front. The film simulations and filters can be switched up in an instant with this little touchscreen on the side, which almost looks like the memo holder on a film camera. One of my point and shoots I'm using has a very similar design to show the roll that you're currently using. I only use one battery charge for this whole trip, but that's considering I wasn't outside seeing all day long. So if you're going to be using it a lot every day, I would recommend taking the charger with you, or even better, get a second battery. This camera definitely satisfied my desire to shoot analog without the risk of damaged film, the cost of it, developing, scanning, etc. I can also say that it's a lot more reliable than the point and shoots that I keep picking up at charity shops for a $5, which then, surprise, surprise, don't work for very long. Overall, I've actually had even more fun than I thought I would with this camera. I grabbed it all the time and took it everywhere with me because it is so compact. I love testing the different film simulations and filters, switching it up and figuring out a new vibe for every shot. I'm actually thinking about getting one myself. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments below for me. I'm also going to Spain this year, so let me know what camera you would like me to test out next. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more photography content. See you next time. Fun fact, if you look closely at this image, you can see a Jesus statue on top of that mountain. Here we met a lovely lady called Angela, who told us her life story and invited us to a festival the following day, but unfortunately we were leaving on the same evening. Shout out to Angela.